Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. What happens when a simple act of kindness collides with unexpected circumstances? Enter the dilemma faced by one family where a change in work uniform policy has sparked tension and disagreement. Refuse to change out of my police department uniform just to do after-school pickups. I, 26-year-old male, work full-time for a police department as one of their tow truck operators. On a given day, I'll do anything and everything from picking up seized vehicles to helping officers if their cars break down or get damaged. While I love my job and am proud of it, the same thing can't be said for my 16-year-old female sister, Emily. This has led to my current issues with her and our parents over the favors I do for them every school year. For years now, during the school year, one of the things I do is drive Emily and her friends home after school. I do this to spare the parents having to make the 20 to 35-minute drive twice a day. This hasn't been an issue until this year when a new dress code went into effect for all of us tow truck drivers. 2 weeks ago, as part of a push for safety, all of us got new uniforms that were designed to replicate what our officers wear. Since adopting them, they've done their job well, as more people are slowing down and moving over for us. This sadly is where the problems begin, as Emily and her friends hate this new uniform and find it embarrassing. As a result of this, they have been demanding I change every day before I go to pick them up. My response to this has always been no, and that they need to suck it up if they want to ride. Not happy with this, they complained to my parents a week ago, who tried to get me to cave to their demands. When I told them no as well, this led to a huge argument in which I decided to stop helping them. This has led to the other parents getting upset, as now Emily and her friends have to use public transit, which takes them an hour to get home. If they want to treat you like a chauffeur, they have to start paying you. Otherwise, they should have just been grateful for getting the free ride. Most kids would love to be picked up from school every day rather than have to ride the bus. And our second story. Christmas gift revenge. This was about 23 years ago. My husband was lousy at giving gifts. He would get what he wanted for himself. That year, I came home to a large box wrapped up about 10 days before Christmas, and he said it was for me. He was so excited. Mind you, we've always been pretty broke, so we, or should I say I, always bought for our children, and his greedy family, mother-in-law demands, we always did without. For some reason, I wasn't that excited about this gift. Intuition. Well, Christmas Eve comes and we open gifts. He gets all excited telling me that I'm going to love this present. I open the box to find a shop vac. We had hardwood and linoleum, so I always swept and mopped and had no need for it. He told me that it's wonderful because it cleans up the garage, his domain, even picks up water. And he said it worked great because he already tried it before wrapping it up. I was pissed. He bought it for himself. I would have been happy with a $5 necklace that turned my neck green. That night, I wouldn't even go to bed with him. He comes into the living room where I was laying down and told me to come to bed. I told him I wouldn't because I couldn't look at him. He then told me how I was extremely selfish because gifts were to be what we as a family could use, not what we would want. I laid there all night and plotted my revenge. I had to wait for a year, but like they say, best served cold. I kept quiet and told nobody of my plan for revenge. 50 weeks later, I found it. I wasn't even looking for it, but it was staring right at me as to say, here I am, and it is time. It was in a huge box. I quickly purchased the gift, got some wrapping paper for it, and hid it. Don't want any sneaky peets. Christmas Eve, while he was at work, I put the present under the tree, took 2 rolls of cheap wrapping paper, and I put some ribbon and a bow on it. It also had a nice weight for it. We start opening gifts, and I wait a bit. Finally, his eyes light up, seeing this big box and finding out it was his. He was so excited, and I told him that this is specially bought for him. He opens the box to find a case of toilet paper. I then quoted him, "Christmas is not for what we would want, but what we as a family need or could use. We all wipe." He was furious. He complained to his brothers and everyone. My family and his brothers told him that he deserved the toilet paper. To this day, no husband in my family will ever buy a vacuum cleaner for their wives as gifts. Oh my God, that was so perfect. Now what everyone wants to know is if he started giving better gifts after that. And our next story. Never heard Grandma swear before this. Ever since Grandpa died, my older brother and I took turns taking Grandma to the grocery store every week to do her shopping. Grandma cannot drive due to medical reasons, so one of us would take her down and help her with her shopping. During the height of COVID, we'd go to her house and help her shop online and come back the next day to help her carry the bags in from the front porch and put stuff away. Grandma is the sweetest person I know. I once said in front of her when she asked me about the game I went to the night before that Calgary sucks, and she went pale, and I got a lecture on how young ladies don't say sucks. So one day we were on our grocery trip when Grandma had to use the restroom. She walked off and I stood by the cart waiting for her. Then a Karen came up to me and said, "Now that the old lady's gone, I need some help." I said, "Oh, sorry, that's my grandma," and she just had to step away for a moment. "I think you can get help up front." Karen said, "I don't care. You need to help me now." "I'm not going all the way up front when you're here right now." Me. "I'm sorry, but I don't work here, and I'm sure there's someone up front who can help you." Karen started to respond when Grandma came back and said, "I'm done. Let's go now." We started walking off, which Karen really didn't like, and shouted, "Get back here and help me now." Grandma stopped and looked at Karen, saying, "What's going on? This is my granddaughter and we're leaving now." Karen's response was, "It's because I'm Asian race." I honestly forget which one she said. Grandma said, "She doesn't work here. We're leaving now." Karen's response was, "BS. I saw her helping you. She works here." Then Grandma snapped and said, "Listen here, you bleeping bleep. What makes you think she works here? Is it the black leather jacket, the green tank top, or the jean shorts? How stupid can you bleeping be? Find another employee who's wearing that and I'll buy your bleeping groceries. But if you can't, get the bleep out of here and leave us the bleep alone." Karen went quiet, and I thought for a moment that I was going to have to break up a fight, and I'd never heard Grandma use language like that. Just then, an actual employee came into sight, and Grandma waved him down and told him that Karen needed help, and then told Karen, "Here's an employee who can help you. Now leave us the bleep alone." And we started walking off. Wasn't good enough for Karen, who had to get in the last word. "No, I want her to do her job and help me now," which I thought was going to set Grandma off again, but we continued walking off and heard the employee say, "Ma'am, she doesn't work here. Now, how may I help you?" That was the last we heard before we were out of earshot and never heard about it again. In the car on the way home, Grandma suddenly turned bright red and told me what I said was unladylike, and I hope you never use those words or tell anyone I used them. I couldn't help but burst out laughing, telling a very embarrassed Grandma, "Where did you learn such language like that?" She never told me, but I was proud of her for letting it all out. This happened about 5 years ago, so apologies if it's not entirely accurate, but I hope you get the basics of it. Though English is my first language, it was also my worst subject in school, so I'm sorry for any mistakes I may have made. Also, Grandma's still alive and well, and I took my shift with her down to the grocery store last Sunday. She still gets mad if I say sucks, but when she starts to lecture me on it, I remind her of this moment, and I've heard her say much worse. I can understand not wanting to use such language, but certain people need that sort of punctuation to get through their thick skull. And our next story. Locked the door to my home so my husband's friend couldn't come in. My husband's friend has been living with us for about 6 months now. When my husband presented the idea to me about him moving in, I was hesitant, but he was determined to get him out of the streets. Fast forward to preset day. His friend got a part-time job at FedEx and quit a couple of weeks ago because he didn't like how his supervisor was talking to him. He doesn't contribute anything to our home, doesn't help cook, clean, or watch our children. Our oldest girl keeps an eye out on our toddler more than he does. He'll go in our office and spark up a cigarette no matter how many times I tell him and my husband that he needs to do that outdoors. Yesterday, I hit my breaking point. I wasn't feeling well as I had a migraine. 3 of our children had dentist appointments. I go outside with our kids to see that my car was gone. He took my car to meet his coworker. My husband was at work. Furious wasn't the word to describe it. I immediately went back inside and tried to call him. No answer. I then called my husband, where he sighed like he was so annoyed with me and said he would call him. I tried explaining to my husband that I'm at my wit's end. We have 6 kids, and I get no help from him or his friend. He sleeps on our couch and doesn't even fold his blanket up in the morning. My husband proceeds to tell me that I'm overreacting and that I need to calm down. I ended up locking my front door and refused to open it until my husband got home. However, when he got home, he didn't try to come inside. He took a picture of our door, went on Instagram, and told the world, "Have you ever been locked out of your own home?" I lost it. I feel like I've been more than patient, and I can't do it anymore. I don't get help or basic respect in my own home, and I'm constantly gaslit. My husband has a history of getting extremely angry and scary, so I told him he needed to wait until our children were asleep in bed before coming in, as I was afraid he'd come in irate, lashing out in front of them like before. Update. So I contacted the base nearest me and was granted a MPO, military protection order for those who aren't familiar. It took a couple of tries to get a hold of someone, but when I did, I effing sobbed while trying to summarize everything that's been happening to me. She said he will not be allowed to come home or contact me until the investigation is complete. She was extremely nice and sympathetic with my situation, so that gives me slight hope. This is the second step I've ever taken in regarding getting my kids out of here and ending my marriage. The first was locking the door yesterday. I don't know where his friend is, but I put his crap out of my house late last night and told him to come get it. It was gone when I woke up this morning. I can't describe how terrified I am at the unknown. I'm going to change the locks to the doors within the next 24 hours. I'm also going to sit my kids down tonight and explain why I did what I did and come up with a game plan. And our last story. I had my neighbor's car towed. I live in a house and my garage comes out to the alley. It's a tight alley with a mix of apartments and houses. Parking isn't the greatest, but most people make do. This lady has been parking against the apartment across from my garage in a fire lane with her driver's side wheel sticking out partially in the alley. It makes for a very tight squeeze for anyone to get by, and there are clearly posted no parking signs. I have seen her car get hit because it's so tight back there. Almost every day when I go to work, I have to make a 3-point turn to get out of my garage, and I can only go left because of how she parks. I cannot go right because she leaves me no room. I've given her the benefit of the doubt and have not said anything because I know parking can be rough here, but she has seen me struggling trying to maneuver around her car. This week, she was backing her car to park and she tapped a dumpster on wheels belonging to the apartment building, which she also lives at. The dumpster rolled right into the middle of the alley, completely blocking anyone from driving through. She then proceeded to walk inside the building and did nothing about the dumpster. When I came home, I saw this on my surveillance, and it got me upset to the point I called the police regarding the blocked alley. Ultimately, her car was impounded. Later on that night, about 11 p.m., she came with her boyfriend, ringing my doorbell, and I ignored her to avoid a confrontation. She must know it was me if she's coming at that time of night. Next morning, they come again, but I wasn't home. This week, they stood on their balcony glaring at me as I would walk to my garage. I asked them what they wanted and why they rang my doorbell at 11 p.m., and they wouldn't say a word, just continued to glare. I also found an egg in my backyard that appeared to have been thrown over my fence. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.